Hello and welcome back to Musical Minutes number 3. Thanks for tuning in again. And I'm Carol Cowan, organist and director of music here at IUCC. And today I want to talk about Johann Pachelbel, who was born in 1653 and died in 1706. And he was probably the most prominent composer of what they call the South German School. Now, Germany at that time was divided into two sections of the country, the North German School and the South German School. The North German School was the school that was Buxtehude, Bruns, and Bach. And this was the development of the pedal and all the fancy pedal work that you see in some of the big preludes and fugues. The South German School, the organs weren't made that way. So in the South German School, you had the organ was more of a, the flourishes and everything were in the hands, and the pedal was mostly sustaining notes for the melody and pedal points, and not very much to do in the pedal parts. The kinds of pieces that Pachelbel wrote were preludes and fugues and fantasies, chaconnes, and his music is described by echo passages, 16th notes that are repeated, and his melody in a chorale prelude was clearly heard. And he had pedal points mostly, and not too much to do in the pedal, but some. Also, Pachelbel was friends with the Bach family, and he mentored the young Johann Sebastian Bach, but he was a teacher to his older brother, Johann Christoph. And Johann Christoph, there's a story here, Johann Christoph wanted, he had scores that he wanted to play at home to practice and use those as examples on how to write his own music. Now the young Bach, who really admired Pachelbel and Bruns and Boehm, and he wanted to play those same scores that his brother had. But his brother would not give him the book. So Bach, when everybody was asleep at night, he would slip out, out of his room and into this locked cabinet that had a lattice work that he was able to get his hands in, and he would take that score out of it, because it was just a paper, like a parchment type score, and he would roll that thing up and stick it out of the lattice work, and then by moonlight he would copy the scores that were in that, or the pieces that were in that book. And he took him 6 months to copy that score, and he got it all copied and got all the pieces that he could have for himself. And his brother Johann Christoph found out about it, took the score and locked it up and wouldn't give it to him, and he didn't get it until after his brother's death, which apparently, according to some of the sources I read, was not really that long after he took the score and buried it. So, you don't know about that. But anyway, what I want to show you today then is your trivia question number 3, which was Pachelbel was probably the most prominent organist, teacher, and composer of the South School. Who were his students? Handel, Buxtehude, Johann Christoph, or Walter, and C was the right answer, Johann Christoph. Okay, now because we're doing 2 parts for this segment, I want to also show you trivia question 4. So I'm going to give you 2 trivia questions, and then I'm going to play the piece that we're talking about here. And this is: how many times did the bass line repeat itself in Pachelbel's chaconne in D minor? Now, he did not write very many chaconnes, but he did write 2 that are fairly famous, and this was an example of the beginnings of a passacaglia, and I can't find a difference in the definition of a chaconne as opposed to a definition of a passacaglia, but what it basically means for either one is that it's a repeating bass line, often called an ostinato. It keeps the beat, it repeats over and over again. So what I want to play with you is, I want to play chaconne in D minor, and this is by Pachelbel, and then I want you to count the number of times my feet go back and play the same phrase over and over again. And then I'm going to ask you to email me your answers, and then we'll have some kind of a prize at the end. So we're going to stop now, and I'm going to let Dan get the camera ready, because you're going to focus on how many times my feet do this. Okay, this is an example of the music that I'm playing from the Ciccone in V, and here is the repeating bass line. Okay, and this is one time, this is one phrase, and I'll play it to give you an example of what it sounds like, and then it repeats again. And the pedal does nothing except these 5 notes. Okay, that phrase is number 1. Okay, so that I go up the scale from D to E, F, G, A, and then I go back to D. So that phrase from here to here, you count as 1. Okay? Now, one thing I neglected to tell you was you don't count the last note, because it's not a full phrase. So I'll let you know next time what the answer is on how many times I played that bass line in Musical Minutes number 4. Meanwhile, email me your answers as to how many times you think I played that bass line with my feet. And that's an example of a chaconne. Thanks for watching.